Imagine scanning the vast, secretive expanse of Soviet territory in the 1960s, your eyes glued to the grainy images relayed by early spy satellites, searching for any sign of unusual activity. Then, out of nowhere, you spot something that seems impossible. A gigantic object far larger than any known aircraft, gliding just above the surface of the Caspian Sea at breathtaking speed, leaving observers stunned and confused. It's not a ship, not a plane, but something entirely new and mysterious. The Korabl Maket, or KM, quickly earning the nickname Caspian Sea Monster among those who saw it. Western intelligence agencies were utterly baffled. This strange machine defied all existing categories and left experts scrambling for answers. It moved far too fast to be a ship, yet it flew too low and heavy to be a conventional plane, carving a colossal wake across the water that could be seen for miles. The Soviets had engineered a true behemoth, capable of carrying troops, missiles, or massive cargo at speeds rivaling aircraft, but with the stealth and unpredictability of a ship hugging the waves. This was the world's first glimpse of the Soviet Ekranoplan, part ship, part plane, and a bold symbol of Cold War ambition and technological daring. The idea of a flying aircraft carrier might sound like pure science fiction, but for the Soviets it was a real and innovative answer to a pressing strategic problem: how to move power quickly and unpredictably. These giants were designed to rewrite the rules of naval warfare, able to transport heavy loads and military hardware across vast distances, all while remaining largely undetected by enemy radar. The story of these sky monsters is one of bold innovation, immense technical challenges, and ultimately, a sense of disappointment as their promise faded into obscurity. Soviet engineers pushed the boundaries of what was possible, daring to build machines that seemed to defy the very laws of physics and engineering. But progress isn't always a straight line. For every leap forward, there were setbacks, crashes, and hard lessons learned. Sometimes the most fascinating journeys in technology and history skim just above the surface of what's possible, challenging our imagination and expectations. The Caspian Sea Monster left us with a haunting question: what if these incredible machines had truly taken flight on the world stage, changing the course of history forever? Why did the Soviets build these strange machines? Because they had to. The world was changing rapidly, and the Soviet Union faced challenges that demanded unconventional answers. Their engineers and military planners were under immense pressure to find solutions that could level the playing field. During the Cold War, the US Navy's aircraft carriers ruled the seas, projecting power anywhere, anytime. These floating air bases could launch devastating strikes and support operations far from American shores, making them a constant threat to Soviet interests. The Soviet Union, with limited access to warm water ports, couldn't match this fleet. Their navy was hemmed in by geography and ice, unable to challenge American dominance on the open ocean. Building traditional carriers was too costly and slow. The resources required were immense, and the Soviets knew they would always be playing catch-up. Instead, the Soviets needed a way to move troops, tanks, and missiles quickly and secretly across bodies of water like the Caspian and Black Seas. They needed a new kind of vessel, one that could bypass the enemy's watchful eyes and deliver a decisive blow. Enter the Ekranoplan, too low for radar, too fast for ships or submarines to intercept. It was a technological leap, blending the speed of aircraft with the carrying capacity of ships. It was a ghost, able to appear, strike, and vanish. The Ekranoplan could slip beneath radar coverage, making it nearly impossible to track or stop. The motivation was pure necessity, a rapid, stealthy deployment platform. The Soviets needed a way to surprise their adversaries and respond to threats with unprecedented speed. An Ekranoplan could, in theory, deliver an entire battalion to a distant shore in under an hour, undetected. This capability could change the outcome of a conflict before the enemy even realized what was happening. This was no vanity project. It was a bold attempt to leapfrog the enemy's strengths. The Soviets were determined to find a way to counter American power without matching it ship for ship. The Soviets weren't just building for show, they were solving a critical military problem. Every design, every test, was driven by the urgent need to survive and compete in a world dominated by their rivals. The Ekranoplan promised a unique advantage, changing the rules of the game. It was a new piece on the strategic chessboard, one that could outmaneuver traditional threats. It was a weapon designed to give the Soviet Union a strategic edge, a symbol of innovation born from necessity, and a testament to the lengths a nation will go to protect itself. Ekranoplan means screen glider in Russian, describing how these machines flew just above the water. The Soviets built several models, each with a unique role. The KM, or Caspian Sea Monster, was the prototype, a flying laboratory to test ground effect technology. It was enormous, dwarfing even the largest planes, and proved that such a giant could skim the waves. Next came the Lun class, built for war, a missile platform designed to attack enemy fleets with devastating speed. The Lun was a flying missile boat carrying 6 massive anti-ship missiles. Only one was ever completed, but it embodied the Ekranoplan's offensive potential. Then there was the Orlyanok, or Eaglet, a transport Ekranoplan. Smaller and more practical, it could land on beaches and deliver troops and vehicles directly to the front line. The Orlyanok was the most developed, with several units built. Each model represented a different vision: experimental, offensive, and logistical. Together they formed a family of sea-skimming giants. The Soviets weren't just building machines, they were inventing a new way to fight. The Ekranoplan was their boldest bet. The KM was a machine of superlatives, the largest, heaviest aircraft of its era, and a true marvel of Soviet engineering. Nicknamed the Caspian Sea Monster, it was a sight that defied belief, dwarfing anything else on the water or in the air. Weighing over 540 tons, it was heavier than 3 jumbo jets combined. Its sheer mass made it a legend, and its presence was impossible to ignore. Its tail fin was as tall as a 5-story building, towering above the waves and dominating the horizon wherever it appeared. The KM's design was radical, a boat-like hull for skimming the sea, short broad wings for lift, and an incredible array of 10 jet engines. Every feature was engineered for a single purpose: to conquer the ground effect and glide just above the water. 8 engines up front blasted air under the wings for takeoff, creating a cushion of high-pressure air. This air cushion allowed the KM to rise above the surface, reducing drag and enabling speeds no ship could match. Once airborne, it cruised on just 2 tail engines, conserving fuel and gliding efficiently over the waves for hours at a time. The KM could travel over 1,000 miles at 300 miles per hour, just 15 to 30 feet above the waves. It was faster than any ship and could outpace most aircraft at such low altitudes, making it a unique hybrid of sea and sky. It was a flying testbed, not a weapon. Every flight was an experiment, pushing the boundaries of what was possible and gathering vital data for future designs. Soviet engineers learned ground effect flight by trial and error, writing the textbook as they went. Each mission brought new insights, and every mistake was a lesson for the next generation. The KM was never armed. Its mission was to prove a monster could fly. It was a pioneer, not a predator, and its value was in what it taught, not what it destroyed. For over 15 years it did just that, paving the way for more specialized designs and inspiring engineers to dream even bigger. The KM's legacy was knowledge, showing what was possible when ambition met engineering. Its lessons echoed through every Ekranoplan that followed. It was the first and greatest of the sea monsters, a true icon of innovation and daring. Its lessons shaped everything that followed, influencing not just Soviet projects but ground effect research worldwide. The KM was proof that the impossible could take flight, a testament to human ingenuity and the relentless pursuit of the unknown. The Lun-class Ekranoplan was built for war, a carrier killer. Its mission: strike American carrier groups, the most heavily defended targets at sea. The Lun carried 6 massive Mosquet anti-ship missiles, each capable of crippling a warship. Powered by 8 turbofan engines, it could race across the sea at 340 miles per hour, hugging the waves below radar. The attack profile was brutal: launch all 6 missiles in a coordinated salvo, then escape before the enemy could react. Only one Lun was ever completed and entered service in 1987. A second, meant as a rescue craft, was never finished. The Lun patrolled the Caspian for a decade, a lone predator, a symbol of Soviet ambition. Even as a single unit, it forced naval commanders to rethink their defenses. The Lun was the ultimate expression of the Ekranoplan as a weapon. It was a war machine like no other. The secret of the Ekranoplan was the ground effect. When a wing flies close to the surface, it traps a cushion of high-pressure air, boosting lift and reducing drag. Ekranoplans had short, broad wings designed to maximize this effect, riding just above the waves. This allowed them to carry huge payloads, far more than a conventional plane of similar size. But flying so low was risky. Pilots had to maintain a precise altitude, dodging waves at high speed. Specialized controls and training were essential. The Soviets developed automatic flight systems to help, but it was always a high-wire act. A moment's error could mean disaster. Ground effect made these giants possible, but also made them demanding to fly. It was a unique, challenging form of flight, halfway between ship and plane. Despite their promise, the era of giant Soviet ekranoplans ended quietly. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 brought economic crisis. There was no money for ambitious projects. Ekranoplans were expensive to build, operate, and maintain, requiring specialized crews and infrastructure. They were also noisy, with huge heat signatures and vulnerable to infrared sensors. Rough seas limited their use to calm waters like the Caspian. As military priorities shifted, ekranoplans became a luxury Russia couldn't afford. The dream of a global ekranoplan fleet faded. The last Orlyonoks were retired, the unfinished Luns scrapped. The Caspian Sea monster crashed in 1980, its lessons living on. The age of the sky giants was over. They were brilliant solutions to Cold War problems, but history moved on. The ekranoplans became relics, their promise unfulfilled. Their story ended, but their legend remained. The ekranoplan program wasn't a failure. It was a triumph of imagination and engineering. Soviet designers pushed boundaries, building the largest, heaviest aircraft of their time. Their research on ground effect flight influenced aviation worldwide. The Caspian Sea monster inspired engineers and the public alike, a real-life wonder weapon. Ekranoplans proved that sometimes the best solution isn't a plane or a ship, but something in between. Their story is a lesson in innovation and the limits of technology shaped by strategy. When the mission changed, the machines became obsolete, but their ideas lived on. The ekranoplans remain a fascinating chapter in military history, a path not taken. The ground effect dream didn't die with the Soviets. Today, companies are developing smaller, efficient sea skimmers for transport and logistics. Modern materials, GPS, and engines make these craft practical for ferries, patrols, and cargo. For island nations and coastal regions, they could revolutionize travel. The legacy of the Soviet sky giants lives on in these new designs. The Caspian Sea monster may be rusting, but its spirit of innovation endures. The line between ship and plane is blurring once again thanks to the pioneers who dared to skim the waves.